Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Gus Tucker, and it's Financial Freedom Fridays. And guess what? It's December of 2022. Can you imagine? It's December of 2022. 2022 just started, didn't it? It's going by really, really fast. Today is what, December 9th, I believe. So in 16 days, it'll be Christmas. And in 22 days, it'll be my oldest daughter's birthday. And I don't want to think about how old she is because, hi, Ursuline. I don't want to think about how old she is because that means I'm getting older, man, every day. So if there are things you're thinking about doing, man, you got to get to getting because, time's going by. And Ellis, those two books I mentioned, can you put them across the screen? Because I'd really encourage people to get these two books that I'm reading right now. I'm reading a bunch of books, but these are two of them. And, man, I really encourage you to get them. One is called African American History and Devotions by Dr. Teresa Fry Brown. And they're readings out of African and African American history. History and many things that we are just not taught, we're not made aware of, that will really help shape your perspective on your life. There it is, African American History and Devotions by Dr. Teresa Fry Brown. Please get that book. I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, and you can basically 10 books out at a time you can loan to yourself. So I got it on that Kindle Unlimited. I just searched Kindle for books on Africa, African history, Black American history, and I'm just reading through books. And then this Africa Study Bible. People will tell you that the Bible was written by white people and it's a white man's religion. Adam and Eve were in Africa, guys. Most of the Bible happens in Africa, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, places like that. None of those seem to be European to me. I don't think. Last time I looked, and the Protestant Reformation in Europe, Martin Luther learned from 3 black men in Western Africa the truths that are the foundation of the Protestant Reformation. So look up St. Augustine and Origen and Cyril and see who those guys are. Don't believe the hype. We've been sold a bill of goods, and that's part of what we want to talk about. We're going to get back to talking about the straight financial stuff, but to make the financial stuff happen, we have to have a set of attitudes and mind frame so we'll have the strength to make the actions that we need to make life work for us. So I'm going to put this presentation up, share. Yep, there it is. So what we want to do is create an economic environment to empower Black Americans and African Americans to thrive. Now, here's the thing, guys. We got work to do. This here says Team Dominion. And that's the name of my business team within our company, because based on Genesis 1:26-28, God created us to take dominion over this earth and subdue it and make it work. So that's what we're intending to do, and we're intending to empower other people to fall in line and do what I believe God wants you to do
to make a difference in this world, both for time and eternity, you're already success because you exist. You exist because God made you to solve a problem. You're a solution to a problem that other people have, and you're empowered to make a difference. So one of the things one of the reasons why I'm sharing the things I'm sharing is so you'll latch on to some of these things, because we need help creating this environment called America where Black people can thrive. And we need to work together to make some changes happen. No one can do it by themselves, but all of us together can make it happen. If we look through the eyes that say, okay, what's my role? And how do I network and work with other people to make this happen? Because none of us can do it by ourselves. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So, yeah, we want to support as many Black Americans and African Americans in applying this information to create financial independence. And the reason we want financial independence is not just so we can have a bunch of stuff. But so, yeah, we want to live a nice life. Everybody does. But what we really want to do in addition to that is really empower other people to be successful. So nobody feels the need to take from you to get what they want. They've got the belief, understanding, resources, and wherewithal to get everything they need for themselves. That's the kind of world we want to create. Financial independence is, at some point in the future, you don't have to work for money anymore. Your assets work for you. Okay? People that are wealthy, I don't mean rich, I mean wealthy, they've got control over their time and their money. Having a great lifestyle is having control over your time and money. It isn't about how much money you have, but if you have enough money to buy your time back, where you can do with your time every day what you want to do, you're a wealthy person. And you can handle all your financial responsibilities, you're a wealthy person. That's financial independence. So all of you guys have a number that it'll take to buy your life back, where you wouldn't have to work anymore, and your time is your life. Time is the stuff life is made of. Time is the stuff life is made of. I think I read that from Stephen Covey. So when you buy your time back and you get your time back to do what it is you want to with it, then you can have a great lifestyle, okay? So what's financial independence and how can it be developed by Black people for Black people? We need two things. We need attitudes and actions, okay? So we need a strategy, and over the next few months, that's what we're going to be talking about. I would encourage you to study the writings of Claude Anderson. I'm not saying I agree with it or don't agree with it, but I think he's on to something. He's asking questions that need to be asked. And he's uncovering information you need to know to help shape your thinking and cause you to think and cause you to do further thinking and digging and trying to understand. Because here's the thing. Since 1860, in 1860, right before the Emancipation Proclamation, we controlled about a little bit less than 1% of the U.S. wealth. 160 years later, it's about the same number. So something's happened over the last 160 years that hasn't allowed us to grow 10 times or 20 times where we're at. Yes, some people have made it through, but we need to make it through as a group. So part of what we've got to do is demand what we want from the powers that be together, so we can create an environment in which we can win. Does that make sense? And I encourage you, because I wasn't always this way. And I argued with the person that I call God about this. Why did you make me a Black person, especially a Black man in America? What a cruel joke that was. But now that whole thing's turned around over the last 30, 40 years. That awesome. Black presence in the Bible. Amen. Be proud to be a Black person in America. Your existence is proof of your magnificence. We're going to go through some stuff today that you're Black and you're alive in America and you in your right mind and you trying to move forward. That's a heck of an accomplishment. That you ain't went off on somebody today. Oh man. And the more you learn about our history, the more you will appreciate that statement, okay? So I'm going to skip a bunch of this stuff. And what I want to get to are these. First of all, I would get this book. These questions that I'm reading through and these statements are coming out of this book, The Black History Reader by Dr. Claude Anderson. And you can go to his website, powernomics.com. I don't make any money from this, guys. I don't. Not a dime. Powernomics.com and get this book. It's the book I've got right here. And I'm going to be asking you some questions out of it and reading some information so we can have a conversation about what he's got in here, okay? And we talked about the first question already. So the second question is Black exceptionalism, the unused key to Black self-empowerment. I'm going to read this to you and just have a conversation about it. Blackness has had a special importance and impact in America and the world for centuries. The American public and politicians in particular have proclaimed that America's democratic values, its freedoms, and immigration policies make it an exceptional nation among societies, and therefore due special recognition, respect, and an elevated status over all other nations. In other words, people want to come to America because of who we are. Even though we've got some, you got a family, you got some secrets, like you don't talk about, so you can keep the peace and get along. America's been doing that too for 400 years. Some dirty little secrets, right? We're going to talk about them because until those dirty little secrets are dealt with, and you're not moving forward the way you need to. Okay? Stone Mountain, Georgia. Amen. How you doing, Miss Lee? That Stone Mountain is beautiful in Georgia too. To go down there and see it, it's amazing. Exceptional means something that is different, unique, rare, unusual, and remarkable. In the case of a group, it means the members have been treated in an uncommon manner from all others. Black people in America have had a very unique history. And therefore, we have some very unique obstacles we have to overcome. Mentally, physically, socially, economically, they're very different. So I'm going to click over to those things. Okay, I'm going to read this statement. I'm going to click over to some of those things. Because of Black exceptionality, it's an affront and disrespectful for this nation and the Black overclass to continue relegating Black Americans to broad and ambiguous groupings such as minorities, poor people, people of color, diversity, disadvantaged, and multicultural. Inclusion into those categories not only denies Blacks recognition for their achievements, it gives misleading impression that all categories of class minorities, immigrants, Native Americans, gays, transsexuals, and women were enslaved, denied free land and wealth, lynched, castrated, denied to benefit from their own labor, denied human rights and love, and were maltreated as Black Americans. They were not. None of those groups have been treated like Black people because Blacks are very special people. That's something to think about and keep in the forefront of your mind, that any ideas or legislation or concepts that put Black people in a lump with other people and call them anything and then develop programs for it or are trying to solve a problem for that people as a group, it's going to do a disservice to Black people because we've had a very unique experience in America. Here's 16 exceptions. And I encourage you to get the book or watch this video back and write them down. Black people are the first people on earth and the ancestors of all mankind. Look at it. Look at where Eden was. It was in Africa. Okay. It was where black and brown people originated from. So literally everybody on the planet has black blood in them. That's just a fact. Adam and Eve. Sorry. Yeah, they were black people. They weren't European people. They weren't. The first people in North America, black people were the first people in North America. There's also a group of people called the Folsom people and the Moors. Read about them. Folsom, Folsom, and Moors, Moors. Read about them. Black people were the only people enslaved by the U.S. Constitution, the U.S. Supreme Court, and state Jim Crow laws, where it was legal to mistreat black people through the tool called slavery. It was legal. Black people were only people classified as property, 3/5 of a human, and a peculiar species. That somehow black people are different genetically than non-black people. Black people were only people made a permanent minority and underclass by the 1790 nationalization laws. Go and read the 1790 nationalization laws. It'll blow your mind. It did mine. Go read that. Black people are the only people excluded from the billions of acres of free land granted to white immigrants. Remember that 40 acres and a mule concept? For the most part, it never happened. The benefits that immigrants got when they came to America wasn't afforded black people. Research it. The only people not paid for their labor, therefore they could not acquire assets to pass on to their descendants. Imagine for 400 years. So what year is this? 2022, right? It's 2022, right? 2022. Up. I done all kind of craziness now. What happened? Let's see. Mm-hmm. I think. Hold on. Hello? I think we're back. Oh man. Okay, I thought I did unmute myself. Let's see. Yeah. And I will re-add the presentation. So there it is. Can you hear me now? All right. So, man, there must have been going to be some good stuff because it got cut off. So here we go. The only people not paid for their labor, so they couldn't acquire assets to pass on to descendants. So it's 2022 now. Imagine that you were white, and right now, starting right now, you did not get paid for your labor until 2422, 400 years. And black people took over all the companies and kept all the money till 2422, and then you started over as a white person. That'd be something, wouldn't it? That's what happened. Black people were free labor along with free Indian land became the definition of the American dream sought by immigrants. So you're a person in America, you're white, you get free labor from Africa, and you get free land. And now you got the American dream. You don't have to be smart to build a business like that. You don't have to be smart. Black people are the only people for whom it was illegal to attend school or learn how to read and write. Why? Control. Control. Hey, people, keep reading, keep learning. Even now, we're allowed to now, legally. Let's take advantage of it. Descendants of slaves were in America before 99% of all other people arrived here. We were here first. The most patriotic people have fought in every major war since the nation's founding. There's a new movie out about a black pilot in the Korean War and what him and this white guy did. And the white guy, the black guy, as I understand, was the leader in that situation. Black people are the creators of music, dance, and slang, copied and confiscated by every nation. I think white folks buy more rap music than black people. Black people were the pawns over which the North and South fought. The 1860s American Civil War of brother against brother. Black people were the only people who created the need for a second U.S. Constitution, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, and the civil rights laws to deal with the issues that black people have. Black people were the only Southern labor class whose images were displayed on Confederate currency. We're the only people in America who were denied the humanity of loving, nurturing, building, and protecting their own families. Your family could be split up into slavery and you had nothing to say about that. Your wife or husband could be taken from you and used in ways that are illegal, and you didn't have anything to do about it. So what would the United States look like today if black people had been paid labor, had been a paid labor force that cleared the land, built the roads, bridges, canals, and government offices and universities? What if they'd been paid for that? 2, blacks have been members of the founding fathers, participating in writing the Constitution, allowed to vote, hold public office, and express a group self-interest. Blacks had ownership of some of the thousands of acres of free land upon which to build mega farms, ranches, and extract the minerals, oil, gas, lumber, and other resources, and the opportunity to accumulate wealth from generous land giveaways. What if blacks had been allowed to economically benefit from their inventions, music, dances, culture, and communities? Black people couldn't own patents for their own inventions. If blacks had received the land, money, and tribal membership mandated in the 1866 Indian treaties. What if black ownership rights had been preserved, and this is the next thing we're going to talk about, preserved to land in Florida based on the Adams, ADAMS, -Owners Treaty, number 3 on this list? What if blacks had received the $50 million stole by whites from Freedmen's Bank many years ago? Okay, so those are some things to think about. Please get this book. Ask yourself, these questions. And then the other thing I want you to ask yourself is, what's your role? What's your role in righting some of these wrongs? What's your role? What's your responsibility in righting some of these wrongs? What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Okay, we'll get through one more today. How does the 1819 Adams-Onis Treaty relate to black people? Read about this treaty, guys. It's about Florida and Spain and America and black people and land and wealth. The Adams-Onis Treaty of 1819 was a treaty between the U.S. and Spain that sold the Spanish territory of Florida to the United States. Get that now. It sold the Spanish territory of Florida to the United States. The treaty also settled the fights that the two countries had long waged over slavery and the rights awarded to black people who settled in Florida. Come on now. Some black settlers had always been free. Did you catch that? Some black settlers in Florida had always been free. And others had escaped from slavery in other states. For 300 years, Spain had claimed the Florida territory that stretched from the Atlantic Ocean along the Gulf Coast to mid-Texas. All right? To mid-Texas. All that was considered Florida. All across Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, all the way over past Houston and to the middle of Texas. During that period, the Spanish government and the Catholic Church proclaimed Florida to be a haven for free blacks and runaways who escaped southern plantations to become Spanish citizens. To become what? Spanish citizens. Spain's offer of citizenship included physical protection and free land for blacks accepting Catholicism. After a number of costly military conflicts, Spain fell on hard times and by 1819 agreed to sell Florida to the United States for basically a nickel an acre, or approximately $15 million. The sale was formalized in the Adams-Onis Treaty signed by the Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, and ratified the Senate in 1821. 1821, 44 years before the Emancipation Proclamation. The terms of the sale should have protected blacks who were made U.S. citizens by the treaty. Let that sink in. So in 1821, when this treaty was signed, the black people living in what was then called Florida were to be made what? U.S. citizens. Which conferred upon them ownership of the Florida land they had worked. So if they were free, which they were, and they had worked on land in Florida, that land was supposed to become theirs. Those black people that worked that land. We're talking about Florida, y'all. Some pretty lucrative property to own. The Adams-Onis Treaty is another instance in which whites one-sidedly benefited from circumstances and assets created by black people. I want you to do your own research. Tell me what you find out. I'm continuing to research this myself. I want to put this on your mind to think about. And as a result of it, what should we be asking for from our government? What should our strategies be going forward? Who was looking out for black folks back in 1821 when this was wrote? The Adams-Onis Treaty expanded the nation's landmass and provided the opportunity for whites to steal land and benefits that had rightly belonged to blacks. Whites not only stole land ownership and freedom from blacks, but also severely punished them. Treaties are the highest laws of the land and have the strength of international law when they are made between sovereign nations. The treaty stipulations required the U.S. to honor the protections and rights that the Spanish crown had granted the slaves, free blacks, and Native Indians. It required the U.S. to treat the slaves, to treat the people with African blood living free in Spanish Florida the same way it treated whites. What? We're going to stop there. But basically that land in Florida was taken away from the black people who lived there, and so was their citizenship. All illegal. Land of the free, home of the brave. For whom? Now, I ain't talking about getting mad, rioting in the streets, and nothing like that. But we got to get smart about what are we going to do to build wealth and power today, and how we're going to do that. Man, it's great. Whatever side you were on, Warnock or Walker, that Warnock won. Either way, there have been a black man in the Senate from Georgia. Okay, now they won the majority, 51-49. So what does that mean to black people? What does Senator Warnock's win mean for black people? What are you asking for in Georgia? What are we asking for around the country that's going to move us forward? So as you think about that this week, I encourage you to get the book. Get the book. The book is a black history reader. 101 questions. This question we're reading now is question 66. We're only going to deal with like 8 or 10 questions out of 100, but they're all around economic empowerment, which is about financial literacy. So I encourage you to get all 5 of these books from powernomics.com and continue your education. Continue your education. And I want you to be thinking about what is it that you're going to do to make it better and empower black people to win in America. What are you going to do? How are you going to improve and continue to change your attitudes and your actions to make that happen? All right. Till next Friday, when we're going to finish this Adams-Onis Treaty and get on with some of the other questions here. Okay. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. All right. Take care. God bless.